Welcome to the Egg Whisperer Show, a program exclusively designed to promote reproductive health awareness and discuss fertility preservation options. Here is your host, the Harvard-educated fertility specialist, Dr. Amy.
She's known as the Egg Whisperer.
Fertility expert Dr. Amy Abazadeh.
And you have yet another success story
Just launched by an East Bay fertility doctor.
Welcome to the Egg Whisperer Show. I am so excited to have Marc Sherman on today. Welcome, Marc.
Thanks so much for having me.
You got it. And I want every single person out there, now that you're listening, I don't know how long you're going to be listening for, but go to Organic Conceptions right now and start looking at his website as we're talking and start learning about what you can do to improve your mental well-being and health as you're going through your fertility journey, whether you're trying to conceive for the first time, whatever it is that you're doing right now. I need you guys to look at organicconceptions.com right now. So let me guys, as you're doing that, tell you about Marc. Marc founded Organic Conceptions after a 20-year career in corporate America. The idea came after he and his wife, Erin, struggled with infertility, decided to adopt, and then unexpectedly found themselves pregnant. Realizing that this phenomenon occurs regularly, they decided to conduct the first ever research project to better understand the insights, patterns, and commonalities from similar stories. And you guys, we all know it's not as easy as just try to adopt when it comes to trying to conceive and have a baby. They partnered with Ph.D. Kate Webster and conducted a multi-year study that uncovered 9 key emotional transitions that were common across these stories and that are required for conception. Their program, The Journey to Parenthood and Beyond, helps couples identify, and not just couples, you know what I mean, any individual that wants to have a baby, name, address, and overcome their suffering. The suffering involved when struggling to conceive, resulting in healthier patients and better outcomes, no matter what your journey to conceiving will be. Thank you, Marc, again for coming on today. Your story is inspiring, and I love that your own curiosity is what led you to this purpose-driven life that you and Erin have found for yourselves, to looking for answers that help other people. What did you notice in your own journey that made you wonder if there was more going on behind the scenes? Tell us about your journey. Answer this question. I know I'm talking a lot. Tell us more, Marc.
Oh, this is great. And thank you for bringing mental health in as part of the conversation, Amy. Everyone, and my wife and I included, we spent so many years just focused on our physical nature. We knew every lab result, every chart. We were just analytically trying to solve the mystery. And all along, we really didn't pay much attention to our emotional or psychological state. We really didn't think about it at all. So yeah, we had 2 separate instances where we had this unexpected surprise conception after years of struggling. And the word struggling is an understatement. This consumed us. This was a dark cloud that hung over my wife and I for many, many years. It changes you as an individual. It changes your dynamic as a couple. It changes your enthusiasm for life. Life just goes on hold. And on 2 separate occasions, there was this shift, this change after we decided to pursue another path. And then here it was. We became that annoying story. And those stories are annoying, Amy. I will, quite honestly, they're annoying. People come out of the woodwork to say, why don't you just adopt or try this or take a break? It dismisses what you're going through. It makes you feel like as if you're creating the problem, or even worse, we don't want people thinking that pursuing adoption is a way to trick your body into a conception. It's unrealistic. But after it happened twice, you couldn't help but be like, gosh, the stories at face value are useless. But twice in our lives, we had success, and you just couldn't help but wonder, is there more if we go deeper into the research to say, are there patterns, commonalities, insights that can really draw attention to we are more than just physical beings. We're physical and we're emotional. And for most people, you're putting all your emphasis into the physical side of conception. So that led us to say, listen, there's more here. I believe 2 occasions, like there was a change, Amy. There was a change in the way we were living our lives. There was a change in terms of the interpretation where my wife felt broken and damaged. There was a change in terms of the life we created around the struggle. And there was 2 separate times that changed. We let it go without ever stop trying. And we just felt that could the research bring something forward that can help guide people, whether they're in treatment, considering treatment, looking for a natural approach, it doesn't matter. We prepare our bodies, but there's very little we do to prepare our minds.
Yeah, and I feel like I should have the song, Let It Go. I have a very old office. I don't know if you can tell, you can't tell, but there's speakers up here in the ceiling. And I always feel like Let It Go should be just, on repeat here, because that is the best kind of outlook that I try and teach my patients. And I'm glad you brought it up. And what are the commonalities? I mean, you said that there were 2 instances where you guys kind of changed your outlook. And what did you learn?
Well, let me just say, let it go. It's like an oxymoron, or when people are told to relax and just meditate, it's near impossible. You're hanging on where every month you're going from hopeful to that crashing despair. I mean, it's very, it's almost unrealistic in terms of how do you really put yourself in a position where you're trusting in this process. And it was through the research that we uncovered these 9 psychological stages, or these transitions that people move through. And ultimately, the net of the research is that your quality of life around your sense of self, the way you think about your self-worth, self-esteem, the way in which you identify yourself, your ability to cope, where you have the hope, then despair, that constant fluctuation, you have the anger, the grief, the sadness, the jealousy, and then your commitment or your willingness to move forward with life. Most people, you're kind of pulling back, you're socially isolating, you don't feel like you want to move forward with life. And through all this research, what we realize is that the people in our research, many people with PCOS, endometriosis, advanced age, the data went from very low levels of quality of life around those 3 constructs, sense of self, coping, and connection with life, to very high levels. And they had no idea there was going to be an unexpected anything. But there was a letting go of the past disappointment. There was a realization this is your journey. It's not your sisters, your best friends, your neighbors. There was a level of starting to trust that our families come to be in unique ways. And through these 9 steps, we ultimately can help people gain a new perspective, a new shift in the way in which they're interpreting their journey, the meaning they give it, and ultimately the life you create around it. For many people, it just consumes you. You want this just to go away, and there's nothing else that you can really concentrate on.
And it is all consuming. And I feel like you have to take an active role. I call them the always negative thoughts, or those ants that are just sitting there and just like constantly talking to you. You have to know how to push them off your shoulder. And it sounds like you guys are going to teach people those skills to flick them off. So as soon as those thoughts just invade your brain, you can stop them.
You got it. It's about giving people actual skills. You know how many times my wife did, and I'm not against any of these things, yoga, meditate, girls' night out, all good. But X hours later or the next day, that thought is sitting in your head, that what if scenario, that rumination that is living within our bodies. And I think you know this, our bodies know when it's safe. We know when our body's in a good place. So what we're doing differently through these stages is giving people the ability to really understand and get to the root of your thoughts, and giving you strategies and tools to say, wow, I understand my circumstances, but I have a choice in terms of my thoughts around them, my emotions, and the actions that I take. And when you can actually give people tools, that's when you achieve lasting change.
Yeah. So I imagine you kind of took a big risk. You left a corporate job 20 years, unless you made $bazillion and have your own plane. I don't know, Marc. That's quite a risk to start Organic Conceptions. So obviously this is really important to you guys, and you guys are working with like the ultimate professionals, and Kate Webster as an example. What led you to find her, and how did you guys put the data around what you guys notice in your personal life and to get other people to notice?
I have no plane. There's no jet. It was a huge risk. I tell people, doing a startup when you're later in life is much different than when you might be doing it at 27. We've had to move several times and sell the home that we built. So there's a whole nother story of what it takes to stand up for something. But I think the passion came that it was so annoying to hear people talk about these stories that were useless to hear, A, and B, being told to relax is so unrealistic. And I think that we want people to start to look at your emotional health just like you looked at your physical health, which is we are doing so much to prepare our bodies, but we do not think about this piece. This is seen, mental health is sometimes seen as a sign of weakness, or something we do after a setback, or something we do after failed treatments. And the reality is most people, before they even start trying, they're thinking about this. They're anticipating this. They're told their eggs are, that there's a urgency and they're running out of time. There's worry and anxiety. But at the end of the day, most people were suppressing our thoughts, and you start to become in the analytical mindset, and you're trying to solve this and overcome this like you are going after your new job profession or the house that you want. So I think the passion came as, holy smokes, our bodies are way more capable than we give them credit for. And yes, the tech and science have advanced so greatly, But what do we do to look at mental health as not a reaction to a setback, but something we do proactively and allow our physical state to be optimized in our mental health state, and together allow people to achieve greater outcomes. So I think that we just became passionate that the science has improved, but when it comes to mental health, it's still this thing that we hand business cards to therapists once someone's in a difficult place. And we want to help people proactively get into a good place for a healthy journey, because so many people lose years of their lives. And the way a woman's interpreting this is different than a man. And there's a lot of anxiety that comes into play. And my wife and I, at the end of the day, lost so much time that we can't get back. We didn't socialize with friends. We wouldn't go to work events. I mean, it consumed us, and that was valuable time. And we hope to change that for others.
I love it. And not everyone has a support system. Some people are, I call them independent mothers, or some people are from different cultural backgrounds that make it so taboo for them to even bring up this stuff. So I love your platform, because it's a way for people, no matter what you're going through, what kind of support you have, all of a sudden you have support through you. So what did you qualitatively, I know that there's something that you guys discovered about the impact of being in fertility treatment on hormones?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what we realize is that the way in which, for many people, they tell us the industry doesn't give us permission to engage in our thoughts. Most people, and women, have told us, I feel like if I wasn't trying everything, I didn't really want this baby. And we are just in obsessive, do everything, and it's generally physical work that we're doing. And I think that through the research, what we realize is that people came to this point where there was a change and a letting go of that, where they came back to themselves, they came back to each other. And at the end of the day, that quality of life, going from very low levels to high levels, we know, and there's so much information talking about the connection between our minds and bodies, but you can see the anxiety levels decrease, the stress level decreases. And we know that stress and hormone balance and everything else, they're related. So I just think it's a matter of, we talk to a lot of people saying, at the end of the day, we can't make a promise of what the outcome is. It's just not ethical. So many people were promising my wife and I outcomes, and ethically, we tell people all the time, if you look at our course as a to-do item and to conceive a baby, we're probably not your place. But if you're ready for a change, you're ready to live a healthy life now, if you realize your journey now is part of your story and you can't take this piece away, it changes your perspective. It changes how you will ultimately parent, and certainly your outlook on life. So at the end of the day, I think that the data was very strong in terms of the quality of life. And we know separately that there's a lot of data that speaks to high levels of stress, high levels of anxiety, high levels of even social isolation, and how that can actually impact our reproductive health.
Yeah. And I want to jump into organic conceptions and where that title came from.
Yeah, that is funny, because it was when I was very comfortable in the corporate career with health benefits and salaries and titles and all that fun stuff. And I met Dr. Kate Webster, and that had a lot to do with it. I met someone who I believed was that person. I don't know how to conduct research. She was a research psychologist. I met her in my corporate environment, and she and I became friends. And I said, well, everyone has that seed in them of that one thing that someday you will go do. And for me, it was this. I wanted to change the course for others. And when I met Kate, I said, hey, you're that person. And we sat down one day at a restaurant/bar with a little white napkin. And I don't want, organic. Some people are like, is this related to food? I just felt like allowing our bodies to naturally be, allowing our journeys to come about in the way in which they will. So many people in our research look back and say, this journey played out exactly the way it should have. And some people did pursue other paths and found their families in other ways and still were able to conceive on their own. We don't know. It's when we let go of the expectations. So I think that organically, we're hoping people to get to their best place possible. We work with some of the best IVF docs. We work with people that are early on. It doesn't matter. It's about bringing the physical and the emotional into unison, into harmony, really.
So I have a suggestion, and I actually was saying, because sometimes I'm like, I have to remind myself, okay, what's the website name? And I was like, if only they had named it Orgasmic Conceptions. Because I feel like if you had called it Orgasmic Conceptions, I'd be like, holy shit, how do I get my hand on that? Because that sounds amazing. Because I get that question, do I have to give my wife an orgasm to help her get pregnant? I'm like, if you want her to ever look at you again? Yes.
Yeah,
Anyway, so just a
regardless.
suggestion. Maybe have an orgasmic conceptions part on your website. I don't know.
It's a
Just
whole nother
throwing that
business.
out there. A whole nother business. That's the next platform that you're going to build after this one. So where does someone start? Like, you go to the platform, like, what do you do?
Yeah, you almost got to start yourself to say, how am I doing really? One of the first things we try to do is get people to just emotionally stop and take stock of what you've been through and think about the thoughts and that you have and think about, like, how is that showing up in your life, and is it contributing, and in what way? And if you feel like that you need some change, then I think that then you're ready for us, really. So we have a 3-step process. We do test. We have an in-home cortisol test kit. Some people just want to know, is the stress really impacting my body or not? So we're testing through a cortisol kit. We also have an emotional health assessment that people just complete. And we then analyze those 2 scores, and then we move you to the platform to move through this 9-step methodology that is proven to advance and improve your quality of life. And we know that when you are in a healthier state, your body is going to be in a better position to perform its function. For some people, I tell them, if you're feeling overwhelmed, you don't need the cortisol kit. If you're feeling it, who cares if it's showing up or not? Take action, address this in a proactive way, and don't look at it as a sign of weakness in any way. After COVID and everything else this year, we all emotionally, there's times in our lives where we will not have that control over the situation, over the outcome. And it's really how we can endure it in those moments that really will define us as people. So so we want to kind of test and assess where you're at. And then ultimately the entire course is online. We meet people in the privacy of their own home. They move through our 9-step methodology. We have other cognitive-based mini lessons around how to dismiss negative thoughts, how to look at your label and diagnosis. A lot of people have some identity that consumes them. So we have a lot of mini lessons on topics that our members wanted to hear more about. We also have an incredible program around nutrition and lifestyle. We do support groups every month for our members to be able to come on board, ask any questions in a live setting. And then we also have a private community that allows people to post any question, anytime. We have your back. We're there to respond. We're there to engage you. And anyone that becomes a member, it's lifetime. Know why? It's regardless of where your journey takes you and how your family comes to be, we got your back and we're there for you.
It should be lifetime orgasmic conceptions. I was kidding. Lifetime organic conceptions.
Guarantee the orgasmic, though. That's the problem.
The problem. Yes, I know. No one can guarantee that. So I talk a lot about, you've probably heard the fertility team. So now I have fertilityteam.com. I feel like now I should just route it right over to Organic Conceptions, because I feel like you guys embody what I've always envisioned. Because I always tell people, build your own mind-body center and build it yourself. And right now, like, people aren't going out and about and doing all the kind of stuff that we used to do. And now it's all right there at Organic Conceptions. So you got the therapy, the eating recommendations, mindfulness stuff. So it's all right there. So thank you for all of the work that you guys are doing. So Marc, is there anything else you want to share with our audience today?
No, I want people to feel inspired. I do. I don't think there's anyone we've ever engaged or researched hundreds of couples that didn't look back and say, gosh, this played out the way it was supposed to. It's hard to see when you're living with the incredible uncertainty that comes with this journey. And I know it's easier said than done, but if we can just give a little grace to ourselves and the thoughts that we have and realize that this is our own journey. It's unique to us. Our family will come to be in unique ways. And if we can just trust that without that constant urgency that we're running out of time, most people have incredible amounts of value to offer this world today, but we put off the love and we put off the joy thinking that will come once we achieve success. And I think we got to help people to live their best lives now. Amen.
Find joy in every moment that you have. Life's too damn short.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Marc. I hope I can meet your wife one day. I imagine that she's
absolutely
pretty remarkable.
Yes, you absolutely can. Very active with our member base for sure.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, you have a wonderful day, and I hope to have you back on when we learn about your next platform.
I love it. That's a big to-do item. You're very welcome. Thank you, Amy.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Welcome to the Egg Whisperer Show, a program exclusively designed to promote reproductive health awareness and discuss fertility preservation options. Here is your host, the Harvard-educated fertility specialist, Dr. Amy.
She's known as the Egg Whisperer.
Fertility expert Dr. Amy Abazadeh.
And you have yet another success story
Just launched by an East Bay fertility doctor.